I'm Ron. Thanks for checking this out. Earlier this month, I spent some time on Zoom with Sarah Jeffery, helping her try out some Native and Native American style flutes. Now, if you're not familiar with Sarah's work, she is an amazing recorder player. Her YouTube channel, Team Recorder, has more than 200,000 subscribers and is a real go-to source for all things recorder. I'll put a link in the description box, of course. Now, there are enough similarities in technique between recorder and our native flutes that many of her videos will really help you out a lot with native flute playing. She's very engaging and very, very helpful. Now, I think she is going to edit our Zoom meeting into a video that will probably be on her channel, Team Recorder, sometime in the next month or so. So watch out for Team Recorder. So why am I helping a European woman understand and play our indigenous flutes? Well, short answer is that I really do believe that open and free trade cultural exchange is essential if we're going to find our way out of the ecological and political crises we face. And musicians have always been on the cutting edge of cultural exchange. Anytime two musicians meet, we start comparing our instruments, we start sharing songs, we start jamming together. Geez, even if we just happen to hear a lick that we like, we will try to figure out how it works and make it our own. Yeah, maybe a less polite way to say this is that we musicians are among the biggest thieves on the planet. I'd like to unpack this a bit more, but first, please help me decide on something. I'm thinking of adding a live stream to my channel. Now, the current plan is for this to happen on Thursday evenings, just before or on the full moon. And what I would do is play for about 20 minutes and the chat line would be open so that we could have some conversation time about things afterwards. So if that sounds appealing to you, maybe just leave a moon emoji in the comments. And that would probably be starting in the next couple of months. If you have a suggestion for a day or time that might work better for you, you can add that as well. Thanks. Okay, more unpacking. It's fair to say that encountering the music of R.C. Nakai changed my life. He is the reason that I started playing Native American flutes. Now, over the years, I've had the great honor of performing with him from time to time and helping with projects that he was leading. And in addition to his sheer musical adventurousness, I've always admired his openness and generosity of spirit. I agree with his thinking that our indigenous flutes from here in the Americas are a wonderful gift that we can share with others. And if we learn our flute deeply, it is as expressive and versatile as any other instrument on the planet. And so, like Nakai, I've taken the flute into many different musical settings. I've played with indigenous musicians from many other cultures. I played with classical musicians, jazz and blues bands, etc., etc. You get the idea. As an indigenous person, I am very much aware of the realities of history, the ongoing persecution that indigenous peoples face worldwide, and the multi-generational traumas that many of us still deal with. And I'm also keenly aware of appropriations issues. Now, those issues are starkly apparent between indigenous populations and dominant culture settler populations. But there are even appropriations issues within indigenous populations. So, for an example, when I was learning flute, I learned some of the Lakota courting songs, mainly by listening to the recordings of the great Kevin Locke. And that taught me a lot about how the flute works. But I never share those songs in public. They're simply not my songs to share. Also, as a Cherokee person, I have to be aware and acknowledge the historic reality that some of our Cherokee people became so fully assimilated that they even became slave owners. Sometimes persecuted people, in an attempt to end the persecution, will take on some of the worst aspects of the colonizers and persecutors. If you're Indig, you probably get what I'm talking about. But if you don't get what I'm talking about, here are a couple of resources that can help you deep dive it a little bit. Indian Card, Who Gets to be Native in America, by Carrie Lowry Shootpelts, who is enrolled Lumbee, talks about Indigenous identity, what enrollment means, why some of us carry a card in our pocket to prove our Indigenous identity, and the historic reasons for this mess. It's as good as anything I've seen on the subject, and Amy Hall narrates it beautifully if you prefer audiobooks. You can also check out the Red Nation podcast channel right here on YouTube. Word of warning, though, this channel provides a really potent Indigenous view of American history and of colonialism and of capitalism. So if that makes you uncomfortable, maybe stick with Dances with Wolves. Just saying. Okay, let's get back to some flute playing. Here are a couple of techniques I learned from an Irish flute player. Back in the day, I was artist in residence for a few years at the Timber Flute Festival, and I shared concerts there with Gray Larson, who quite literally wrote the book on Irish flute playing in this country. We would sit in on each other's tunes. We would do some improvs together. Check him out here on YouTube. He's really quite a very wonderful player. Now, in his workshops, Gray would talk about the relationship between flute playing and bagpipe playing. Bagpipe players cannot use their tongues to articulate notes. If you think about Scottish Highland bagpipes, there is a pipe in the mouth, but it's used to fill up the air bag. The chanter pipe, where the melody is being played, is not in the mouth, so you can't use your tongue to articulate notes. In Irish Uilleann pipes, the air bag is actually filled by a bellows worked by the arm, and there aren't any pipes in the mouth at all. So if pipers want to articulate a note in a special way, they have to find some other way of doing it, and oftentimes they will use their fingers. Now, one technique that they use is called cutting, and you can do it simply by flicking your finger up and down on an available hole while you're sustaining a note. And Irish flute players and whistle players adapt this to their own technique, and it actually works really well on native flute as well. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm simply going to hold a long repeated note. I'm going to hold this note, and then I'm going to use one finger to flick on notes underneath that to make it sound like the note is being articulated, but I'm not using my tongue here at all. Okay, here it is, and again, thanks to Sarah for helping out getting close-up shots again today. Now, cutting is often used to make rhythmic patterns as well. And now here's another example, and this will be a simple heartbeat kind of pattern. But again, once I settle on the longer note, I'm making it sound like a repeated note just by flicking my finger up and down, just by making cuts. Now, this technique is really pretty different from our usual barks and chirps that we use on our native flute. I made an entire video about barks and chirps, so there'll be a link in the description box. You can check that out whenever you want to. Now, on bagpipes, you can make vibrato with your fingers as well, and we can try this on our flutes too. Again, I'm going to hold this as just a long sustained note, and I'm not going to make any vibrato with my diaphragm or my throat muscles or anything. It's just a straight tone. And then I'm going to take my middle finger on my bottom hand and partially cover this hole. And I'll start slow, and then as we go along, I'll speed up a little bit and maybe cover up a little bit more of the hole. So using this technique, you can really vary the speed and the depth of the vibrato quite a lot. Now, I suppose another way of thinking about this technique is to think that you're making a microtonal trill, and you can change the speed and the depth of it whenever you want. Now, I'm sure that a lot of you are already doing these things or something similar on your native flutes. But I hope you can see that engaging with musicians from other cultures is really quite rewarding. You have to know your own instrument deeply, and you have to know its traditions really well. And then if you are fortunate enough to meet someone along the way who knows who they are and knows their instruments and its traditions really deeply, you might have a really good time sharing some tunes and some ideas. In fact, the music that you're hearing right now emerged that way. This is from an album called Red Moon that I made with Larrakia didgeridoo master Ash Dargan and Mohawk cellist composer extraordinaire Don Avery. This is a duo track called Generations that Ash and I improvised in the studio the first day that our sessions began. I'll put a link to the full video here so that you can check it out whenever you want, and you can hear the entire album, of course, on the usual streaming sites. Like I said, we musicians are unapologetic thieves. But it's also true that flute designs are among the most ancient musical instrument designs on the planet. Most cultures have their own version, and a lot of times the techniques are the same or are adaptable from one instrument to another. So it didn't surprise me all that much that I was able to adapt some Irish flute playing techniques to the native flute with a great helper like Gray Larson. And it didn't surprise me at all that a great recorder player like Sarah Jeffery started picking up native flute very quickly. Well, that's about it for today. Please hit the like button if you found this video enjoyable and useful at all. Maybe consider subscribing. You can visit my website for online coaching sessions and workshops and streaming tracks and scores and charts and other fun stuff. Okay, I will see you again close to the next new moon.